One of the stars in Ubisoft's impressive E3 2015 lineup is Tom Clancy's The Division. And joining me now on stage, Ryan Bernard from Ubisoft. And we are going to talk about The Division because you guys had a pretty memorable demo up there.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, that's kind of what we were shooting for. So, you know, it's each year we want to try to bring more of the gameplay, more kind of pull the wrapper back a little bit further. And the previous, you know, the first year was about kind of, you know, making a splash with the game. And then last year was about the open world, what's happening with the scenario. And this year we're really focused on the Dark Zone and how player versus player works in the game.
And player versus player is sort of, you know, a lot of games have player versus player and player versus environment as entirely separate things.
Yeah.
But that's not really the case in The Division. You guys have sort of mixed it all around together.
Yeah, I think, you know, the genre for the game, you know, like a lot of games, you know, are going open world. They want, you know, player choice is a big thing. That's what I think the gaming community wants. So to be able to create something unique, we wanted to have a gameplay space where it's not a battleground, it's not a multiplayer map. It's a space that's right in the core of the gameplay loop and the core experience where player versus player can happen.
Now, you guys talked about the Dark Zone for the first time this year, and you also sort of in the intro trailer gave these hints at the story, you know, why these people are the people who are super good with guns and prepared for this kind of situation. You know, we always knew this might happen, and then we were activated kind of thing. Are you only doing the vague hints at this point, or can you give us a little more on the sort of campaign setting and who these people are that you're playing as?
Sure, no, we've talked about the background. I mean, the whole premise for The Division was we wanted a new Clancy unit that was going to be an RPG game that fit within Ubisoft's very strong suite of Clancy games.
Yeah.
So from that kind of birthed this thing of, well, to be different, the disaster kind of needs to have happened. So in our scenario of our game, you know, the virus is released, the society is kind of crumbling already, and this is a Clancy unit that's different. It's based in home, and it's based as a response unit. So that's how that came about.
And so as a response unit, it seems, you know, sort of the goal we're seeing here, going into the Dark Zone is obviously a big risk, so there's got to be some kind of reward there.
Yes.
And we talked, you know, sort of mentioned like they have Dark Zone loot or something like that, but can you give us a little more concrete information about what kind of resources they're able to pull out from a risky mission like this?
Sure, absolutely. It's I mean, the lore behind the Dark Zone is this is ground zero for the infection. So when military originally quarantined a smaller area and tried to stop the spread of the virus, that was obviously ineffective, so they had to pull back, and they left all the best gear, equipment, supplies in the Dark Zone. So besides missions and scavenging for resources, for materials for crafting, the best loot, the best quality equipment in the game is inside the Dark Zone.
And when you talk about loot, you got to be talking about the player's loadout. And so we've got obviously guns, grenades, but are there any sort of like gear outfits? Like what's the extent of the loadout you're going to be able to customize?
So each agent has a number of slots, and so each slot can be upgraded with a new go bag, larger inventory, better thighs, legs, boot slots, gloves, and this can have statistics like attached to them. So it can help increase your damage with weapons, increase your health pool, you know, RPG type statistics. So that's why you want this loot in the Dark Zone.
And now one of the sort of, you know, that RPG type like progression, exploration, one of the sort of key things about that is pushing into areas and encountering enemies that are too tough for you, that are, it's not just about going through and killing everything you see, it's about making decisions about when to engage. And we saw that in the demo here. The players were trying to avoid, you know, certain areas because of these high-level enemies. What's your sort of approach to, like, how you pace out that zone and, like, where you want to really push back hard on players to force them to make a decision like that?
Well, I think there isn't really any walls of like, we don't want to block anyone from exploring, but so I would look at it more of like a kind of a blend from as the level progresses up through the Dark Zone. And it becomes very apparent since when you pulse or kind of aim on an enemy, you can see the level of the challenge. And as soon as you get to a certain level above your agent, you kind of become very ineffective. So the game pretty much tells you when you need to either get up your levels through doing missions or killing NPCs of your level or enemies, so that you can take them on. And in this, we're actually coming up against what's called an elite enemy. So it's pretty common for people to play a lot of games, but they're armored, they have higher hit points, they have higher damage output. So it really encourages players to play together to take out elites.
Play together, you multiply the power you can really bring to bear.
Yeah.
Now, sort of, we're seeing more than ever here, you guys sort of evolving this moving between cover system, this catching on fire
system. Catching on fire, exactly. He's got to use a med pack real quick. So yeah, so the Division is definitely a cover-based gameplay, and it has a shooting mechanic. So, you know, utilizing cover, moving between covers, flanking enemies is really important to be successful.
Now, voice chat obviously sort of really played a big role in the demo you showed during the press conference. And obviously, if you're playing on a team, it's going to be really important. But for players who don't necessarily voice chat, are you guys building any kind of contextual call-out system or any way to non-verbal way to communicate?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. The voice is it's a hot topic in the team.
Sure.
Right now, we have a full emote system that's coming in, so you'll be able to kind of let your intentions be known when you're not grouped with someone. And then, of course, there is the VoIP in group. And right now, there's no plans for any type of quick chat system.
Yeah, but if you've got the emotes, then you know, sort of things will start to evolve as players start to understand, like, points where you need to communicate, stuff like that.
Absolutely, and really the biggest telltale is player action. If someone takes cover, you know, 10 feet away from you, 15 feet away from you, or drops up a turret, it's pretty obvious that you should get into cover.
That's a pretty aggressive move.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. So.
Yeah. So is there one more quick thing about voice chat? Is there sort of area chat? So you're not just talking with your team. You're saying like, "Hey, you over there.
Yeah.
What's up?"
So right now there's no plans for area VoIP, but we have big betas coming out. I don't know if you've heard of those announcements. So we are very, very big on playing the game, looking at feedback. The betas are going to be extremely helpful, and it's something we could look at if we decide that that's a direction we need to go.
Sure, yeah, beta's very instructive and certainly could be helpful. Now, we're now in combat with another team of human players, is that correct?
So these, we just actually took out some players that were rogue flagged. So when you go into the Dark Zone and you come up against another player, you're neutral. So you're neither hostile nor friendly. If you aggress them and engage them, you become what we call flagged rogue. Your ring turns red, your watch turns red, and you actually get a bounty on your head. So other players can take you out for that experience reward.
Bounty plus whatever loot you're carrying and you're going to drop.
So all the loot inside is contaminated, and in order to basically to equip it, to bind on equip it, you need to extract it. So that's what we see them doing here, and starting an extraction, which is 90 seconds of very intense kind of covering your ass gameplay.
And it's firing up a flare, and I imagine maybe there's a mini-map ping on other teams so they could come sniffing around.
So the areas are known on the map. They're also known when they're active, when someone's trying to extract.
Okay.
And probably that means that you're trying to get out something good. So we refer to them pretty much as watering holes, because that's what they do.
That's a very vivid image, you know, on the Serengeti, what kind of activity it attracts.
Yes, so it gets pretty crazy at the extraction areas.
Now, I think that I loved when at the end of the demo you showed like that next level of betrayal. Your teammate betraying.
Yes.
Because that adds an extra layer of tension. But like, I don't know, do you worry that might put in the mindset of players like, oh, if I'm just going to be a real dick every time and get out every time, and it's only going to be me or no one?
It's a common question actually, and I mean potentially. Again, we want to start the Dark Zone with as few designer-placed rules as possible, and players generally kind of develop a rule set amongst themselves.
Yeah.
If we see that, you know what, this mechanic just really isn't fun. People are, you know, that nothing ever happens. Nobody extracts. It's too much. It's too chaotic. we can make adjustments. So this is where we're starting. It was the big, how does PvP work in your game? Well, this is how PvP works in the Division.
Yeah.
And the great thing about being online, about being iterative, is you can always make adjustments.
Yeah, and there's ways to, better incentivize cooperation and stuff like that. And I think I really appreciate sort of showcasing that backstab moment because there's this delicious darkness to it, and I think that's part of the appeal of the Division.
Yes, my favorite comment that we saw was on Reddit, someone that's been following the trailers from year to year, and we've had the same group of agents, and it's, why Ryan after 3 years, and so if you follow the story, it's agents playing together, and then at the end, one of them just screws all of the other ones and takes all the loot. So
and then he gets right out of there.
It's pretty funny.
Man. So the Dark Zone is, you guys, that's an area where PvP is possible. Is there also areas where you can sort of just do a PvE thing? Or?
Absolutely. So the Dark Zone is a multiplayer space. So you'll definitely see other players maybe engage in PvP. The rest of New York in the open world is what we call phased. So if you and I are playing together, and I'm the group leader, we're in my copy of New York. And we won't see random players running by or messing with our mission or trying to engage us, which there's no PvP outside, so it's okay. But so it's a phased private space. And then once you move into the Dark Zone, that's a public space.
Very cool. The Dark Zone, aptly named, it seems.
Yes.
And we got a really good look at it this year at E3. Now, can we talk about the betas for a second?
Sure.
When are those coming down the pipe? Because I know certainly I am interested in checking out some kind of Dark Zone action.
Nice.
When are we going to get to do that?
So we have a beta coming in December for those of you who have Xbox One. And then shortly after that into the new year, we're going to be on PS4 and PC. So no matter which platform you want to play the Division on, you're going to be able to check it out early.
So betas later this year and early next year?
Yes.
And then you guys aiming for maybe a late next year release?
No, we're March 8th of next year.
March 8th?
Yes.
Man.
It's 3 months of full beta, so we have time to look at the data, to react, to really make sure the game is ready. So
excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on here, Ryan, talking about the Division. Definitely a game that continues to garner big interest at E3.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Tom Clancy's The Division. Up next, we're going to take a look at whatever the schedule says over there. I'm actually taking it off the stage. Lucy James is going to come on for our next slate of demos, and she's going to be seeing a lot of excellent stuff here at E3, so please stay tuned. We've got more coming at you.